I said the Lions won a game. Man, we going all the way, baby. We about to celebrate. Why?
And we are back. Great Lakes State Football, episode 51, talking everything football in the great state of Michigan. And I'm Vince.
And I'm Tate.
What up, y'all? Welcome.
And who else do we have on here with us?
Hi, guys. Back again.
He is back. Cannon Dean, Mr. Goosepoop, the man, the myth, the legend, filling in for Brett, you could say. There is no Brett on the broadcast on the episode tonight. He is hunting. So hopefully staying warm in his blind or wherever he's at tonight. Trying not to, I don't know, fall asleep out there. I've never hunted in my life, so I wouldn't know what it's like. Gone fishing many times, never been hunting. Anyway, Brett, we hope you're having fun out there. We're going to be talking some football here tonight. So tonight is another special episode, just like the one we had Cannon on for a couple weeks ago. We'll be doing some previewing here. We previewed the playoffs with Cannon just a few short weeks ago. I can't believe we're already to the semifinals. 3 weeks of the playoffs have come and went in a blink since we did that episode with Cannon. We're now going to be previewing the semis and the state championship games. Likely, unless we decide otherwise, likely won't be having an episode next week. This one will serve as a pick for the teams that we believe will make the state title and the team that we are going to pick to win the state title. So of the 8 semifinal matchups, we're going to go through and make picks again for the state champion and runner-up in all 8 divisions. Before we get to that, though, we got a couple things we're going to talk about first. And before we talk about anything, we'd be remiss to not mention our sponsor. The show is brought to you by NeuroPeak Pro's Intel Belt. The NeuroPeak Pro's Intel Belt is a premier device that revolutionizes performance training through the proprietary precision breathing and heart rate variability training. Download the NeuroPeak Pro app to conduct training sessions and learn to breathe in a way that helps to maximize your performance in the game, at work, at home, and when it matters most. The Intel Belt uses Bluetooth technology to connect to the NeuroPeak Pro app, where you will be able to conduct precision breathing training sessions and monitor HRV in real time, gain insight into your breathing metrics and progress, learn how to adopt a successful breathing practice with video instruction from the NeuroPeak Pro team, unlock instructional content specific to your areas of interest, and learn to utilize precision breathing training in your everyday life to help you maximize your potential. You can get 20% off your purchase of an Intel Belt with our special code GLSFB. That is 20% off your purchase of an Intel Belt with our special code GLSFB. Thank you to NeuroPeak Pro and their Intel Belt. Well, gentlemen, with that, I think we should get into it. Let's talk about some Michigan high school football here. So we want to start things off really quick. We all managed to watch some regional championship games this last Friday, Saturday. I unfortunately was not able to go to one in person. I had wanted to, but it just didn't work out for me. I did, however, watch several games live on NFHS, the online high school sports network that has been going since 2020 during the COVID season. So really quick, just want to mention those 2 games. And then I think Corey's going to talk to you about Portland Niles, and then Cannon and Tate were both at the CC West Catholic game. So we'll have them talk about that a little bit. But I managed to watch from pretty much start to finish the Mason Walled Lake Western game. Mason and Walled Lake Western was a rematch from a week 8 non-conference, matchup over in Walled Lake. Mason, unfortunately, I think we talked about this on the podcast. Unfortunately, Mason, even though they beat Walled Lake Western at Walled Lake, had fewer playoff points than Walled Lake Western did, and had to travel there a second time in 4 weeks, second time in a month. And it was a battle. It was Mason's toughest game outside of their matchup with Martin Luther King over the last couple of years. It was the closest game they have played outside of that MLK game. They actually had to go to overtime. It was a game that at one point Mason was down by 2 scores in the second half. It was a wild game. Mason led 17-7 in the first half at one point before going down. I think it was 35-24. They threw a pick 6 in the third quarter. They were actually driving, had a chance to take the lead, down 28-24. and Walled Lake Western picked six them. I thought the game was over. Even the guys in the broadcast were like, "Ooh, that might have been a dagger." And Mason, I was talking to someone about this today. Mason just kept battling, down 35-24 after a huge turnover, fought back. And actually ended up taking the lead 38-35 late in the game. So they ripped off 14 unanswered points. Just shows you how tough that group of seniors is that they have. A junior quarterback in Kason Carswell, but a lot of seniors around him. Some of them 3- and 4-year starters. I know that AJ Martell, the running back, started as a freshman on the 2020 team. But yeah, Walled Lake Western hit a 42-yard field goal with time winding down, not a walk-off, or not as time expired, but with it winding down to tie it up 38-38 and send it in overtime. Mason held Walled Lake Western to a field goal on offense first, before Mason had the walk-off touchdown to Caleb Parrish. A heck of a play to win 44-41. So that was a wild game to watch. A lot of fun to watch. I'm sure quite a few people got a chance to watch that one. If you got a chance to watch it online or in person, that was a fun one. So Mason is matched up for the third straight year this coming Saturday with Detroit Martin Luther King. So they've gotten crushed by King the last 2 years in the semifinals. Although Dante Moore is gone now, this is a good King team still. Obviously, it's Detroit Martin Luther King. But it's definitely a King, as Cannon talked about this when we previewed the playoffs. This King team snuck in. Cannon, I remember, talked about how Bronson upsetting Kalamazoo Lloyd Norix was the reason that Gull Lake did not get in the D3 playoffs and Martin Luther King did. So MLK snuck into the playoffs at 4-5 and now has managed to go back to the semifinals for a third straight year. Mason will definitely have their work cut out for him, even though it's a not quite as good of a King team as they've had with Dante Moore. But the only other game I got a chance to watch, I did watch some of the Byron Center East Lansing game, and I will say here before we get to our picks, I picked East Lansing to go to the semifinals. I don't think no one else did of the five of us, and I think the only reason I did is because I coach against East Lansing, so I got to see these guys prep for them firsthand, and I knew they had a shot, and they whooped on Byron Center. Unfortunately, we had Coach Cisco on last week, who was a great coach, great team, and we chatted with him about that preview, but unfortunately, they could not handle that explosive offense. Jace Clarizio, Charlie Baker, multiple D1 athletes on that offense, and they beat them 42-20. So East Lansing's in the semifinals for the first time in 16 years. It's also their first 10-win season in 22 years. So East Lansing having a heck of a season this year. But Corey,
you have a shot versus Muskegon?
We'll get to that soon. I don't think so. We'll get to that soon. But
Oh.
I think it'll be a good game. I think people will underestimate East Lansing, but I think Muskegon probably has got a little more firepower, I would imagine. Corey, you want to talk about the Portland Niles game?
Yeah, so I highlight Portland Niles. I got a chance to drive down there. A lot of you know my brother plays for Portland. He is the right tackle, so if you watch film on him, we're not technically related, so no, I'm kidding. Very good game, 21-14 final. It was as close as the score indicated. Niles, very athletic, not super big. Just had a couple dudes on the team. Number one stood out to me. I don't know his name, but very good skill player. But regardless, Portland prevailed, really leaned on Caden Thalen, their star running back, who eventually got injured in the game and is most likely done for the remainder of the year. But overall, very good high school football game. I think it was fairly called. Something that stood out to me, Portland's defense, very, very, very good.
I was going to say, I was hoping you would mention the fact that Niles has scored 40 or more points in every game this year except 2.
Yeah. Portland's defense, very good. They could not run Portland. At the beginning of the game, they were gashing the alley pretty hard, but then Portland ended up walking the safety down and sitting him in the alley, which kind of ended that. And then they didn't pass the ball extremely well, so they really couldn't do much there. I think my point remains the same for Portland. I think if they play a team that can throw the rock, they're going to be in some deep trouble just because their corners aren't fantastic. But we'll see. It'll be a good game. We had talked about before the show how South Christian has kind of had a waltz in the park through the playoffs. I mean, maybe Portland has something hiding that we don't know about, but we'll get to that here in a little bit.
I think something wild about Niles, their offense, is Niles had never scored. Just going on MichiganFootball.com since 1950, I'd have to imagine offenses back then didn't score a lot of points, so I'd have to imagine this hold true since their football program started. But Niles had never scored 300 points in a season until last year. So just think about how crazy this is. They'd never scored more than 300 points in a season until last year. They scored 321 in their season last year. Guess how many points they scored this year?
40 a game, probably 400.
558 points.
Oh, wow.
500.
Almost doubled
They beat their school record by 230 points. Now
they divided by 7.
Now they did go to the regional championship game, which I think it was their first district title in school history, I'm pretty sure. But still, that's insane.
32 additional touchdowns.
That's insane.
If you round up 33.
So Portland held them to 14 if they were averaging over 40 points a game, almost 50 points a game. So
it was a good game. Niles Stadium, kind of an awkward atmosphere. It was really quiet. It was like offset in the distance. Have you ever been to Niles? To get to the school, you like drive through nowhere, and then
it's
you're like
way down there too.
Yeah, and you're like driving through this town, and then out of nowhere, there's just like a school and a stadium just hanging out.
The only reason I have any idea where that place is because we had to play at Matawan 2 years ago, and that was way down there too.
Yeah. We also, I don't know if anybody else got to watch it, but I purchased the NHSF whatever platform as well.
NFHS, yep.
NFHS, and watched the Davison-Rockford game. Super good game. Davison's legit. I think they kind of exposed Rockford. Rockford could not pass the ball against them at all. They couldn't really run against them either. Rockford also turned the ball over quite a bit. I don't know the exact numbers on it, but it had to have been
I think they had four? Including a turnover on downs. I thought they had 4. 2 interceptions, a fumble, and a turnover on downs, I think.
Yeah, they turned them over. I think Davison is legit. I think they got some dogs on their team. They're big, they're fast, they're physical. I sent Vince a video of their middle linebacker.
That linebacker, dude. Holy crap. What a
blowing
play.
Up the H-back and tackling the running back at the exact same time.
He crushed that fullback or H-back. Unreal.
Yeah, it was bad. But they kind of exposed Rockford. I think Rockford's defense was exactly as advertised because I think Davison had a defensive touchdown in that game as well. On the scoop and score off that trick play. Oh my God, what a cluster. For those of you who didn't see the game,
I saw a video online of that one, yeah.
Rockford ran a triple option flea flicker, and when he flipped, pretty much a triple option flea flicker. When he pitched it back to the quarterback just fell out of the blue. And,
he slipped and he literally slipped and fell on the turf.
Yeah,
and the ball
ran
was
in for a touchdown.
Yeah, the ball was just sitting there for Davison to scoop and score.
Yeah, but other than that, good game. Rockford didn't look that packed. Their end zone stands didn't have anybody in them. So I'm assuming it was just the normal stands and probably standing room along the field. But yeah.
Yeah. In your opinion, Corey, do you think Rockford's offensive line was overmatched against Davison's front?
Yeah, I would say watching the game, Rockford didn't have a ton of size on their O-line. Based on the pictures I saw, like just throughout the year, I was like, damn, Rockford's O-line's pretty huge. But then like watching them for the first time, I was like, they're not that big.
Seems to be, at least from my vantage point, has been what has kind of held Rockford back from finally getting over that hump to get back to the state finals. It's just hard to match up with the overall size that they see out of the teams that come out of the east side. I don't know. It seems like they had the skill players to kind of go toe-to-toe with these Davisons and West Bloomfields and Bellevilles, but when it comes to, the guys up front, I think that's the area most where Rockford needs to kind of get back to in order to get back into Ford Field.
Have they not won one since 2009?
8.
Or 8?
They haven't even been back. They haven't been back. They've been in the semifinals, I think, like 3 or 4 times, or maybe 4 or 5 times, but they haven't even been had a state final appearance since 2008.
If you recall, though, that 2008 Rockford team had 5 guys on their offensive line who all played college ball, and 3 of the 5 played in the NFL.
Yep.
Or at least tried out for the NFL.
Yeah. there was an unbelievable offensive line.
Yeah. So
the crazier part was that team
didn't
didn't go undefeated and got beat by an even better Muskegon team that year, who won the state title.
Sure.
And the OK Red, because Muskegon was in the OK Red that year. Rockford won Division I state title. Muskegon won Division II state title from the same conference.
That was 08.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
My cousin was an assistant coach with De La Salle that year, and it was De La Salle's, I think, first ever state finals appearance, and it was De La Salle Muskegon. So I was at that game to support my cousin, and that Muskegon team just crushed De La Salle. That Muskegon team was unreal. That 2008 one.
Ronald Johnson team, right?
Is that who it was? I was trying to remember who was on it. It was an unreal team.
Yeah, they destroyed Lowell in a regional final or a semifinal or something like that.
Yeah, because Lowell won the state title in D2 the next year. Went to 3 straight. You dirty dogs. Had to go through us for Comets. One of them.
Yeah. That was my first varsity game ever.
I know, we talked about that.
That's funny. We shook hands. You think about that.
We did. If you were in the line, you would have shook my hand while I was sobbing in the line.
I was just telling Maddie
isn't that weird? Small world, right?
When you think about your last high school game, like when we played Grand Haven for my last game, but it was over at like start of the fourth quarter, and you were just out there like pancaking people, crying at the same time. Like it's the most ridiculous thing to think about. I'd be like,
the game is over. It's my last game. Fuck you. Tate and Cannon, either of you guys want to talk about the West Catholic CC game?
Yeah, Tate, you can go. I'll jump in.
Just a great great matchup between two longtime rivals. I think this was the first time they played each other since 2001, I believe. And that was also a playoff matchup.
2001?
2021.
Excuse me, 2021.
Oh, I was like, geez, that's been a really long time.
No, I think they last played it was also a playoff game in which there was a blowout that game. So this was a much better game. This was back and forth. I would have loved to see this game be played at Hausman Field. That's really my only critique. I thought that, if you don't have a visiting locker room, you shouldn't be allowed to host a playoff game. That's just my own belief. But anyways, no, a great game.
I just want to add a little anecdote. Tate sent a picture. He texted our group chat a picture of where CC at halftime was congregating as a team, and it was outside on benches in the freezing cold. One of my really good friends and teammates from Hillsdale played at West Catholic. He was on the 2010 state title team. I took that picture and sent it to him, and I go, what the hell is wrong with your alma mater? They don't have locker rooms out there. I was giving him a lot of crap with the pictures you sent.
But no, Catholic Central, I think that their trio of Connor Wolf and Kellen Russell Dixon and Jameis Williams on the outside it's going to be about as good of a trio with a wideout quarterback, running back, trio that you're going to see, especially in that division. So, right now they've got the state title all set up for them, and that's going to be a game that they're going to look back on for probably their whole lifetimes. And West Catholic as well, something that they're going to remember for a long time.
Yeah, it's a great crowd, great game. I will second Tate that I wish it would have been played at Hausman just for the environment, because I think you would have really got a sense for the crowd there. It was not that West Catholic's I like West Catholic's environment in the grass field, and it does have a real high school football feel to it. But I think you would have really felt the sense of the crowd that was there if it was at Hausman, just because Hausman has a nice bowl to it.
It's beautiful.
Great game. Two great teams. I had West Catholic favored, but not by much. If I made the adjustment to the model that I talked about in my newsletter, and I think it lived up to that. Both teams had sustained drives. Both teams had a little bit of luck go their way. So, it's great. I'm very excited to see a Catholic Central Corunna matchup, just because I think there'll be some really great athletes on the field on both sides. I think Corunna can hang with them, but I'm interested to see if Corunna or if Catholic Central gets up for this next game, just because of the hype that's been building for that regional final. And this Frankenmuth team, while probably not as good as West Catholic, is very good. And if you look at the computer model, the spread is Catholic Central's favored by just as much as West Catholic was favored last week against them. So if they don't come prepared for that, that could be a surprising result to people next week. So,
well, and Frankenmuth is no stranger to success in the last 10 years.
Quarterback's got a cannon.
Did Frankenmuth win a state championship last year, or was that 2 years ago?
No, they got beat on the last second field goal by Gladwin last year.
But they've played in a semi probably the last.
So this is
6
their
years.
1, 2, 3, 4, fourth straight semifinal appearance. They were state runner-up in 2020 and state runner-up last year. So they got beat by CC in 2020 in the state title, crushed. And CC beat them in 2021 in the semifinals. So they're no stranger to playing Catholic Central. They didn't have to play them last year, and they went to a state title. Unfortunately, they got beat. But yeah, Gladwin has had an unbelievable decade plus of success. Or Frankenmuth in the playoffs.
Yeah, very good program. Very good program. So,
well, since Ken, you kind of started talking about the model there already. Maybe we can dive into that next. Ken, do you want to talk about that real quick here? How your model has fared in the playoffs? Better or worse than expected? I know before we started recording, you were kind of talking about the comparison round by round here, the dramatic kind of drop off for last week's with some big upsets kind of pulling off. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, round 3 was a bad round for the model guys. So looking at the 6 round, so if you take the first 3 rounds of last year and the first 3 rounds of this year, this last round was the worst round percentage-wise of those 6. We had 71% of games picked correctly, so we went 23-9.
What was the previous worst round before that of those 6 rounds?
Of those 6 rounds, it was round 2 last year. We went what would that be? 48-16. So we picked 75% of the games correctly.
So that's 4%. That's kind of significant, isn't it? Drop off.
Yeah.
3 games.
Yeah. So, but up to this point, the first 2 rounds this year were better than the first 2 rounds last year. So I really think it is just all this kind of randomness. Maybe if you went back and looked, there was just more parity this year in this 3rd round. So you just had a bunch of close games. When there's a bunch of close games, there
was a lot of 1-score games, I noticed.
Yeah. So if there's a bunch of couple point spreads, I'm not going to be very accurate, right? Because I don't pick the games very well inside of 3-point spreads, 5-point spreads, 7-point spreads. So
it's chaos of high school football, baby.
Yeah. So it's probably all those things combined. But yeah, hey, I'll wear it on my chest. I didn't pick them right this last week, so we'll see if we rebound.
You've talked about it with us many times before. There's no fun. I mean, if your model's getting it right all the time, that's not fun. I mean, I think it's way more fun and interesting when you got all that chaos.
Yeah, no, totally. As a fan, yes.
Little pride thing there, though. I'm sure.
I don't. It's interesting to me, right? I just look at them because it is just kind of formulas that I didn't come up with, right? And I just kind of put it all together. The hard part is getting dunked on Instagram and Twitter. That's the hard part. So that's the not fun part. But you know what? That's just part of it. People retweet you when you're up. People are gonna dunk on you when you're down. So you just got to take them both.
Don't go read the YouTube comments either. They're getting feisty over there.
They're coming at you from every social media platform. You got TikTok next? When are you putting out a TikTok?
Oh man, yeah.
I just quickly went through, Ken. I was just quickly scrolling through all the scores of the regional championship games this last weekend. There was 9 1-score games. I don't know if that's more than usual or more than usual for playoffs, but 9 between the 8 divisions, 9 1-score games. So
got it. Yeah,
we're 8 points or less.
Well, if I look at the predicted spreads, there were. So we said going into this week that there was going to be, of the 32 games, there would be 7 games decided by 1 score or less, and
going into the regionals, your model, it was 7 games by 1 score or less.
And would you say 9?
9, yep.
And then I said 19 games of the 32 would be decided by 2 scores or less.
That I didn't count that, but I saw quite a few that were 2 scores as well. I didn't count them all, but
So
that might have held true around 19 as well. I mean, that's not that big a difference. 2 games. I mean,
no,
it's high school football, man.
yeah,
Gotta love it. Gotta love the chaos.
Mhm.
All right, guys. I think then before we get to picks here, 2 really quick things I want to mention. First, just want to mention 8-man football really quick. We don't really talk a lot about 8-man, but just wanted to mention the 8-man state championships, are this Saturday at the Northern Michigan Superior Dome, the Uper Dome, baby. The Division I 8-man state title is at 11 a.m., followed by the Division II state title at 2 p.m. The Division I 8-man state title this year is between Indian River Inland Lakes, who is sitting at 11-1, and Martin, who is sitting at 10-2. And then the 8-man Division II game is between Marion, who is 11-0, and Adrian Lenawee Christian, who is 12-0. So 2 teams in the Division I with a couple losses, and then Division II, 2 undefeated matchups there. So those are the 2. Shout out to the 8-man state title games. Those will be played this weekend. So last thing I want to mention here before we get to picks for the current semifinals as they stand is just to really quickly mention, I know Ken, unfortunately, will just have to sit back and relax here, but I just briefly want to mention our picks from before the season. So this is back in August, really quickly. So before the season began, the 4 of us sat down, and these were the picks that we made. Sharing my screen here for those of you creeps on YouTube watching. This is who we had. So Brett is not with us, but you can see if you're watching, you can see his picks on the screen. I'll mention them really quick. So we were unanimous. He is not dead. He is not dead. He is with us in spirit. He is not with us physically because he's hunting. Just elaborating there. We did not lose our good friend and co-host Brett.
Vince, click the top left. Vince, click the top left corner of the thing, and then double click the first row in A, so you can expand the names out so they can see them.
Sorry, hold on. I got a little technical difficulty issue here. Expand.
So click the top left corner of that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Sorry, go down. Yeah. To expand the rows. There you go.
Can you actually see them okay on your screen?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, there you go.
That's what you meant. Okay.
Well, Excel 101.
How's that? You guys like that? Is that beautiful?
Much better.
Cannon, our unbiased third party, he likes it. We're good to go. All right, so real quick, so we can move on to the real task at hand. These were the teams that Brett, Kory, Tate, and I, before the season ever began back in August, that we picked to win state champions. You can see that all 4 of us are still in the game here for Division I. We were unanimous picking Belleville, and obviously Belleville is still in it. Division II, we were almost unanimous, but we are all also still in it technically. Brett, Tate, and I picked Muskegon. Kory picked Warren de La Salle. Both those teams are in the semifinals. Brett, Kory, and I picked DeWitt to win the D3 state title. Going back on that, thinking back to that now, I don't know why I ever picked DeWitt. The only I remember an interview. Nothing against DeWitt. I mean, I coach against them, coach against them every year here, and they're a heck of a program. And they did not have a great year. It was their worst year, I think, in 15 years this year. But still 7-3 and went to a district title game. But I just think back to some of the guys they had returning, but they lost some college athletes and from last year's team, and Bryce Kurntz and Neff from the O-line. So some talented dudes, and they were still good this year. They had a great team, but I don't know why I was thinking state title pick there. So Tate had Forest.
Idiots, am I right?
Tate had Forest Hill Central is very much still in it, so he's got them in the D3. All of our D4 picks are gone. Brett and Kory had Edwardsburg, who had a very disappointing season. I picked Hudsonville Unity Christian, who had an even worse season. And Tate picked Whitehall, who got upset. So Whitehall was not a bad pick, but they got upset. Interestingly enough, the 4 of us were split on the game that just got played. West Catholic and CC Kory and Brett had West Catholic, and Tate and I had CC. Ironically, I picked West Catholic to win the D5 state title in my pre-playoff pick, but before the season, I picked CC. So as Brett likes to say, hedging my bets there. We were unanimous in D6 with Warren Michigan Collegiate, and they are out. They got beat in the district title. Were they even in the regionals? I don't even think they made it to regionals. I think
they matched up against Alma, so tough draw.
In the regional or in the districts?
The district final.
Okay, I thought they got beat in the district final. We were unanimous on Division 7, and we are all still in game for that one. Jackson Lumen Christi. We all picked to win it. And I'm still going to pick them. A little spoiler alert, I'm still going to pick them to win it all. Division 8, we were split on this one, rightfully so. If you saw how competitive D8 was this year, Kory had Ubley, Tate had Muskegon Catholic Central, Brett and I had Ottawa Lake Whiteford. Unfortunately, Muskegon Catholic Central is no longer in it, but Whiteford, the defending state champs, and Ubley are still in it. So Brett and Kory each have 4 state champs remaining from before the season, and Tate and I each have 5. So interesting there. Those are our preseason picks. All right, gentlemen, before we get into our state final picks for this year, we are going to take a little trip down memory lane to 3 weeks ago to our pre-playoff picks. Let's take a look, see how we are doing. So if you are watching here on YouTube, we'll try to read through some of this for you, but I'm not going to read through all of it. So Cannon, Tate, Kory, these are our picks from going into the playoffs. I tried to go back through really quickly here before we started and put a little strike through for any of the state title winners who are out, as well as any of our we picked the 4 semifinal teams and our state champion. So what we did is I went through at the bottom. Kory and I over the last couple of weeks went through at the bottom and added up how many state champions we have left. And then between the number of state champions we have remaining plus the number of semifinal teams we have remaining, the total number of points, quote unquote, that we have available left. Kory, interestingly enough, has the most possible points remain, if you want to call it that, or the most number of teams remaining. He has 21 total semifinal and state champions remaining, but only 3 state champion picks left. He still has Mason, Almont, and Lumen Christi in play. Tate and I are tied for the most state champions left. I have Belleville, Muskegon. We both have Belleville, Muskegon, and Mason. We both picked those 3 for Division 1, 2, and 3. And then I have Harper Woods in D4 and Lumen Christi in D7, while Tate has CC in D5 and Lumen Christi in D7. Cannon has 4. Goosepoop, his model there, has 4 remaining. Muskegon in D2, Forest Hill Central in D3, Kingsley in D6, and Whiteford in D8. And Brett is down to 3. Brett has De La Salle, Forest Hill Central, and Lumen Christi. So anything you guys, obviously not going to sit here and read through all of our picks again. We have an episode that you can go watch us go through those picks. But anything stand out to you guys that you want to mention before we move on to making picks for?
Are there no perfect Final Fours?
There are not. We had a few that had 3. I have 3 remaining in D2. Kory has 3 remaining in D1.
Goose has got 3 in D3.
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty incredible, to be honest.
That is. Yeah, no one has a unanimous division left. No, we got, I think it looks like 3 of us had 3 teams left in a division, and that is the best. Oh, Kory, you have 3 in D8 as well.
Yeah,
no, you don't. No, you don't. You have 2. No, you don't. You have 2. I looked at it wrong.
Oh.
2.
I'll gloat a little bit. Preemptive gloat, so I can
bring it on. Bring it on, baby.
So I can get dunked on. Is using my model, I'm still going to win from the state champs. So because your guys' Mason pick, they'll be underdogs against FHC or Zeeland West. So we'll see if that plays out. But I think that's who I'm competing against. Basically, is if FHC wins and Mason loses, I think I win just by looking.
If FHC wins.
And Kings would be a 2 touchdown favorite over Almont.
I see what you're saying there. Okay. Yeah, because Forest Hill Central and Zeeland West are playing each other.
But
I just like to thank Jesus Christ for having 21 remaining and being number 1. So there's that.
Total number teams, but state champs, a little rough
No.
there with the state champs. Anything else, guys? Any takeaways or
No, just
anything worth
incredible.
worth
None of us
mentioning?
picked the Final Four, which is kind of hard to believe. Since
That is wild. That out of 5 of us,
8 times 5,
40. That is true.
Final Fours.
Out of 40 total Final Fours, that is true. That's a funny observation. None of us got a perfect Final Four. Only 3 of us managed a 3-team semifinal. Goosepoop for Division 3, I did for Division 4, and Kory for Division 1. That's it. All the rest were 2 or 1 or none. I think someone have none. There might have been a couple or someone had none of them, right?
And I think it looks like Rockford and Whitehall was the one. Oh, no, Goose did not have Whitehall. Oh, no, he did. Rockford and Whitehall were the 2 schools that everyone had in the Final Four, and they didn't make it. So those are the big losers of the playoffs, in my opinion, Rockford and Whitehall.
Yeah, those are 2 that I'm a little surprised by as well. Although Davison's very, very good. The Whitehall one, I think, is more surprising.
This Big Rapids was not very, very good. They were okay, but they were not very, very good.
All right, gentlemen. With that, let us go ahead and make our picks for state champions and runner-up here in all 8 divisions for 11-man football in this great state of Michigan. We'll just go straight across. We'll do what we did preseason. We'll go straight across, obviously skipping Brett. He's not here. He is dead. No, I'm just kidding. That's what we said earlier. He's not actually dead. He's in the woods somewhere. We'll skip Brett and we'll go to Cannon and then we'll just come straight back. We'll just go back and forth, zigzag it like that. So let's go ahead here. We'll start with Division 8. So thank you, Snooze, to you. Shout out to Snooze. If you never checked out his website, he does such a great job with high school football in the state of Michigan. So I have up on the screen here his playoff brackets. Jeez, I was blanking. His playoff brackets here.
We can't see it.
Down.
There you go. Oh, nope.
Like this?
There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
Yep, that's good.
The playoff brackets here, I'll scroll them. If you're watching, you can see them. If you're listening, then you'll just hear us talk about them. So this is Division 8 that I got here first. So let's go. What did I have? Tate, you want to go ahead and give us your state champion and runner-up here? We got Beale City playing Ubley at Mount Morris, and then Ottawa Lake Whiteford playing Riverview Gabriel Richard at Adrian College for Division 8.
I'm going to take Ubley getting past Beale City in the semi, and then I'll take Ottawa Lake. I believe they're my pick at the beginning of either the playoffs or the beginning of the season. And then, I'm going to have to switch my pick up here to go to Ubley. I think they've been the most impressive team in that division. I think.
Oh, you're calling Ubley to win the whole thing?
Yes.
Nice. Gotcha. Ottawa Lake Whiteford is your runner-up. Brett. Oh, wait. He's not here. Kory.
I am going to go Ubley versus Ottawa Lake Whiteford. I love Ottawa Lake Whiteford's schedule going out of state to play a game. And then I think Ubley just continues their dominance on the state of Michigan. They take home the D8 title.
Wow. All right. I'm up next. I think I am going to. Oh man, this is tough. I want to go with the returning state champs, but I think Ubley has played a little bit tougher competition. I think they will have played a little bit tougher competition, especially playing Beale City. I think I'm also going to follow suit here. I'm going to go with Ottawa Lake Whiteford and Ubley playing for the state title. I'm going to pick Ubley to win the state championship. Cannon, who you got for D8?
I have Ubley and Whiteford advancing, and then Whiteford winning.
Oh, all right. Change it up on us there. I guess we'll see who Brett picks when we get to.
You should really, if you're playing the odds, you should really pick Whiteford because they're almost certain to advance against Gabriel Richard, and Ubley has a much tougher semifinal. So
sorry, say again.
Well, if you're playing the odds and trying to pick the odds favorite, it's Whiteford has a huge advantage, even though they'll be basically a pick 'em against Ubley because they have a almost certain chance against Gabriel Richard. Sorry, Gabriel Richard fans. But Ubley has a very tough game against Beale City. In the
yes, they do. Yeah, that was what I would would definitely agree with there. Beale City, I think, is a bit tougher opponent. So
The
again, yes.
Whiteford game against Gabriel Richard is the single largest spread in the semifinal round
Of all divisions.
Yeah.
Oh boy, it's not a good one for Richard. All right. With that, let's move on to D7. So for D8, we almost had a unanimous pick there. Me, Kory, and Tate picked Ubley. Cannon has Whiteford, and we'll see what Brett picks. D7, we got Menominee playing North Muskegon at Gaylord on Saturday. Menominee crushed McBain. North Muskegon pulled off a 1-point win in the last minute of the game against PW to advance to the semifinals. And then we have Millington playing Lumen Christi. Westland John Glenn. Cannon, you want to give us your Division 7 picks here?
Okay, so I have Lumen Christi on the bottom side. I'm going to pick Menominee, and I'm not going to like to pick Menominee here. North Muskegon, there are only two teams that are left that have stage 2 upsets. So there's no teams that have stage 3 upsets in the playoff rounds, but 2 teams have stage 2. And one of those is North Muskegon. So I picked them to lose each of the last 2 weeks. Granted, they've been 1 point a couple point spreads. So
played some tough opponents.
And they've still been close games. So I don't think my model's been discredited. They've just, the things have come out their favor. This will be the largest spread they've had to overcome so far. And I think at some point the odds run out. So, but we'll see. We'll see.
So you got North.
Oh, sorry, I got to probably finish Menominee and Lumen Christi.
Sorry.
And then I have
I was like, wait a minute. I don't think you said it. I was confused.
No, I got Lumen Christi to beat Menominee.
A nice wife.
Oh, thanks. I am going to go with Lumen Christi winning the whole thing. That was who I picked to win it before the season started, and then I picked him again before the playoffs to win D7, running it back after winning it last year. I'm going to have them going up against North Muskegon. North Muskegon, I think, has pulled off a couple great wins. Unfortunately, I know Cannon shouted out the UP in Twitter this week, and I would love to give the UP some love, but have not really seen it from them, at least this last week. So I think North Muskegon may be a little bit tougher path and tougher competition. Kory.
I am also going to go with North Muskegon. Those 2 wins over PW are looking mighty sexy. It's hard enough to do it. And
to beat them twice. Yeah.
First game of the season, last game of the season. Kind of funny. And then I got to go with JLC just because I picked them from the jump. And I'm going to say JLC brings home a state title.
Tate.
I'm going to go North Muskegon and Lumen Christi. I think I'm going to switch my pick again to the Norse.
Oh,
there we go.
Bringing home their first state title in school history, I believe. I think that would be their first ever state title. Or maybe they won one back in the day. I don't know. They might have won one back in the day. Someone will have to fact check me on that one. Tate, if you want to take us over here with D6. So D6, we have Kingsley playing Reed City at Cadillac on Saturday at 1. I think just about all these games are Saturday at 1 for every division. Kingsley crushed Gladstone. Reed City 2-score win over Bullock Creek. And then on the other side, we have Ovid Elsie, who has had probably one of the most surprising runs. I think we were talking about this before we started recording. Ovid Elsie was 5-4 on the year. Beat a pretty good Ida team first round. Had a pretty favorable matchup in the district title game against Lansing Catholic, and then just took down Constantine by 2 scores. Constantine, who's a pretty known power in D6. So Ovid Elsie at 8-4 right now, playing 11-1 Almont team, who I'm assuming is going to be favored by a lot of people. So Tate.
So it looks like this Reed City Kingsley game is a rematch from week 1. It looks like
it is.
Kingsley beat the snot out of them.
They did.
I was going to pick Reed City, but man, I don't know if I can pick a team that lost by over 30. Let's go with we're going to go with Kingsley here, and then they're going to play Alma, and then I'm going to take Kingsley to win it all.
Oh, Kingsley beating Alma. I wonder if that would be Kingsley's first ever state title. I'm not aware of them ever winning one.
They might have been in there in 2007, I want to say.
Okay, was there a time they did?
So I'm going to follow suit with Tate. I think there's absolutely no way.
Wait, Brett. Wait, what about Brett? No, I'm just kidding.
2005. They
2005. They win it or were they runner up?
They won it.
Nice.
I'm proud of them.
Go ahead, Corey.
All right. I'm going to take Kingsley since in Tate's words, they beat the snot out of Reed City earlier this year. And I agree. If you beat a team by 30, you're probably not going to lose again. And then I'm going to go with Almont and Almont as my champion. Pretty impressive, though, what Ovid's done. Beat some very good teams. They played New Lothrop close during the season. Portland didn't kill them. And they were putting up some points, but I don't think they have a chance versus Alma.
I'm going to follow suit with Corey here. I'm also going to pick Kingsley to beat Reed City. And kind of what Tate said, I think Kingsley's body of work is a bit more impressive than Reed City. I'll be interested to see hear what the model has to say. And Ovid Elsie, impressive run, but yeah, I'm going to pick Almont. I think Almont is a very impressive team here in D6, especially after what they did to Michigan Collegiate, taking them down. So I'm going to pick Almont to win the whole thing as well.
So I have Kingsley over Reed City and Almont over Ovid Elsie. Ovid Elsie is the only other team to score at least 2 upsets in the state title bracket. So they beat Ida first round, and then last round they obviously dispatched with Constantine. Kingsley will be favored over Alma. So that's kind of how that goes. Fun fact, Kingsley did win in 2005, the same year that Traverse City won in 2005. And so I don't know how Kingsley people identify with Traverse City. They are directly south of Traverse City.
Traverse City, St. Francis?
Yeah, Traverse City,
okay.
St. Francis. So that's got to be the only double Traverse City state title in 11-man football, right? You got Kingsley and Traverse City, St. Francis. This is kind of crazy.
The only other thing I would say is when Traverse City Central won a couple state titles back in the 80s was St. Francis it back in that day, because Traverse City Central was actually, I think, was it called Traverse City High or something? It was before it was TC West, and Traverse City Central was one team.
Yeah, it was TC High.
TC High, and they won a couple in the 80s. But I don't know if St. Francis.
My father-in-law won a state title. I was
just going to say,
City.
Didn't he play for them?
1979.
Oh, man. One of the very first state titles.
He didn't play, though. So
what a loser.
You heard that?
Sorry, Mike.
I think his brother, Uncle David, he played, and he was a very good football player. So he'll hear this.
Very nice. All right. Cannon is going to run us back here then for D5. In Division 5, we have a couple of powers playing each other, traditional D5 powers here in Frankenmuth, who, as we've talked about, or I don't remember if we were recording, if it was before we started recording. I think we were recording. Frankenmuth has had heck of a 10+ year run here in the state finals, state semifinals. They dispatched Kingsford in the regionals, and then Grand Rapids Catholic Central. We just talked about this game. CC took down West Catholic 30-28. So that game is played at Ithaca, not too far from me. So that might not be a bad one for me to try to make my way out to on Saturday. But on the other side,
your way downtown. Sorry.
Walking fast, faces pass, and we're homebound. Sorry, I like that song. Yeah, it's stuck in my head now. Corunna, 12-0. Very impressive season. I think you guys correct me because I have this on my screen, so I can't fact check it. This might be Corunna's best season in school history. I don't know if they've ever had a 12-0 season to make it to the semifinals. I don't know if they've ever had a semifinal appearance. You guys would have to check that one out for me. Is playing Flat Rock. Corunna has pretty much dominate everyone they played. Their closest game was Pontiac Notre Dame Prep by 11, a very impressive win over an undefeated Notre Dame Prep team. Flat Rock, which I think Cannon picked them as well before the playoffs, has been crushing people. I think I remember, Cannon, when we did our playoff preview, that you singled them out as being a team to kind of look out for in Division 5, and they've just been crushing people. They're sitting at 9-3, and their 3 losses are to pretty solid teams. So undefeated Corunna playing 9-3 Flat Rock.
Yeah, so I have Grand Rapids Catholic Central on one side and Corunna on the other, with Grand Rapids Catholic Central taking it home. Two things to note on Catholic Central's path is that this Frankenmuth game, like I was saying before we started the show, I think is kind of the ultimate letdown game because Frankenmuth has never had a higher computer rating all year. If you look at their chart, it's just up and to the right. So they're steadily improving. And if you think about the psyche of Grand Rapids Catholic Central, they've just built up basically had this entire season build up to this hype around this crazy huge game that Tate and I were at against West Catholic. And it's tough to get up 2 weeks in a row. So it'll be interesting to see this game, Catholic Central against Frankenmuth, if there's an upset in there for Frankenmuth, because it's going to be a closer spread than people think. I think a touchdown spread for Catholic Central. So,
well, I think I mentioned this when we were recording that Frankenmuth did not play CC in the playoffs last year, but got beat by him in the state championship in 2020 and the semifinals in 2021. So there's a little, I think, extra motivation. You're going to have kids on this team, seniors who are freshmen and sophomores during those 2 seasons, so I would imagine there's a little bit extra motivation there.
Yeah. So that'll be an interesting game. And then I think I like the Flat Rock team. They have some very talented players on that team, including that quarterback is very, very good athlete. But I think Corunna is just too much for him this year. So
I'm going to follow suit. I'm going to go CC and I'm going to go Corunna as well. I think I don't feel as confident about my CC pick for what Cannon just said. But I did pick CC to win the whole thing before the season began. So I'm going to stick with that just to kind of be consistent there. I could very much see Frankenmuth pulling off what I think people would consider an upset, though.
I'm going to go with Frankenmuth over CC. I think CC comes in hungover after the Catholic Bowl. And I think Frankenmuth's hungry, really talented quarterback, really talented defense. And then
get their first state title?
I don't know yet. I think Corunna is on a mission. Vince, to answer your question, their best team in school history was in 2002. They went 10-1, so this is in fact a better season. They lost in the district championship in 2002. And kind of interesting, this game is played in Ypsilanti. Flat Rock's 29 minutes from Ypsi. Corunna's an hour and 20. Come on, MHSAA, do better. But I'm going to take Frankenmuth versus Corunna. I do love Frankenmuth. My college roommate, Matt Compow, coaches in their youth program. But unfortunately, I think it's Corunna's season to win a state title.
Oh.
The two brothers.
You're having Corunna pull a Gladwin. Gladwin came out of nowhere last year and won the state title over Frankenmuth. Best season in school history. Not even close for Gladwin last year.
Those brothers at Corunna, they just visited Michigan like 2 weeks ago. They're the real deal.
Wow. Good for them, man. That'd be cool. I honestly would be very excited to see a team that's, having a dream season win their first ever state title like Gladwin did last year. It'd be unfortunate it was at Frankenmuth's expense because as much success as Frankenmuth has had, they still have not got over the hump. Like they've been to how many semifinals and multiple state titles, but have never won the state title. Tate?
So I'm going to go with Catholic Central over Frankenmuth. I think that CC could come in, like you guys have said, a little bit hungover. But I think on the opposite end of that, I think a lot of them, the pressure's off. Like, that game has been in the back of their minds since the district draws came out. And having that kind of monkey off their backs, I think that they're going to play free and have a really big performance, especially offensively. On the other side, I got Corunna as well with Catholic Central coming off another state championship.
Did you say so? You're having CC beat Corunna?
Yes.
Very good. All right. D4, we'll go right back to Tate here. So in Division 4 this year, we have Grand Rapids South Christian, who is the defending state champ. I guess that's something we could have mentioned as we went along, but we did not. Grand Rapids South Christian, returning state champ, has pretty much handled business through the playoffs. They had one close 8-point game over Ada Forest Hills Eastern. Otherwise, the other two games were big blowouts. Portland, who is undefeated. South Christian has 3 losses to some good competition. Portland is 12-0. They are playing that game at Forest Hills Eastern on Saturday. Across from them, they have Goodrich, who is the runner-up from last year. So interesting that we have the state champ from D4 and the runner-up from D4 last year back in the semifinals. South Christian destroyed Goodrich last year in their first ever state championship appearance. Goodrich beat a surprising Hazlitt team. Tate actually picked Hazlitt to make it to the semifinals before the playoffs, and Hazlitt was 1 score away from doing it. Hazlitt played some tough competition this year and took down a traditionally good Chelsea team in the district championship. So Harper Woods, who is my pick to make it to I think I picked them to win the state title in D4 actually before the playoffs. Harper Woods has been pretty dominant outside of their first round game, so they'll be playing Goodrich at Livonia Franklin. Tate.
I'm going to take South Christian over Portland. I think Carson Viss, the quarterback, he's probably more commonly known, at least in West Michigan, for what he does on the basketball court. He's going to be a D1 player when his time is done in high school. But he's been, one of the most electrifying quarterbacks, doing it with both his arm and legs this season, stepping in for Carson DeHaan, who graduated last year. So I got South Christian making it back to Ford Field. Then kind of bouncing off what you said, Vince, I'm going to take Harper Woods, and I think that they get it done in the state championship over South Christian, what should be another great game in D4.
Harper Woods over South Christian. Kory.
Does South Christian throw the ball?
Yeah,
like
they
a
can.
lot? Okay, I need a better answer. Do they throw the ball? Is that their main form of
No,
offense?
they run the straight T like Hastings.
Oh, God, do they really?
They've got one of the better wideouts in the state as well. So they've got a good offense.
So what makes me hesitate with South Christian is they've given up a shitload of points, just under 300 on the season, which is not fantastic. And Portland's never been shy to put up points. So I could see this almost being like a slugfest with Portland's power style game. But with the injury to Portland's running back last week, I think it kind of closes the door on Portland. So I'm going to go South Christian versus Harper Woods, and I think Harper Woods brings it home. If you look at Harper Woods and Goodrich, kind of interesting. Goodrich points 416, points against 173. Harper Woods points 414, points against 175. So it's literally a 2-point swing on for and against, which is kind of interesting.
I picked Harper Woods to win the D4 state title before the playoffs began, to stay consistent there and, back up my potentially unanimous pick through the playoffs. I'm going to stick with it. And I'm going to have Grand Rapids South Christian returning the state title, and Harper Woods, I'm going to make it their year. I think this would be their first ever state title. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, I have Harper Woods and Portland, even though I'm hesitant to adjust my computer model because of the Portland injury, but they're favored by the computer model right now, and the computer does not know about injuries. So D4 is what I would call the dartboard. The computer model would call the dartboard the dartboard division, because it's the division with the 2 closest semis. They're both single point spreads. Not single point spreads, single digit spreads. So 9 points for Harper Woods Goodrich and 4 points for Portland South Christian. So we'll see. An interesting note on that South Christian quarterback, Tate, didn't he have double wrist fractures?
Yes, in basketball.
Yes, so
that video is wild.
I believe it was the regional championship. He went up for a dunk, and the kid was trying to catch him. There's kind of back and forth, a lot of different opinions if the people think it was a dirty play or not. Regardless, he ended up getting kind of his legs taken out from him, landed on both wrists, broke both the wrists, and his South Christian team, just a little side note, they still went down to the wire in D2 in the state championship game. So if he would have stayed, we're talking about 3 state titles in a span of 12 months for that South Christian football and basketball. athletic department. So yeah, he's coming back. He's bounced back from dual wrist surgery to take over at quarterback for the Sailors.
That's
He
unreal.
couldn't even wipe his own ass.
That's the first thing your mind goes to. Did you have Harper Woods beating Portland then, Cam?
I do.
Yeah, Harper Woods.
Oh, they're gonna love you in Portland.
Portland's gonna love you with that thing. All
Love
right.
my brother, but that game is at 1 p.m. on Saturday, and if I have to miss the Ohio State Michigan game, I'm gonna be very upset.
I thought Ohio State Michigan was always during. Oh, you're talking about if they made the state championship.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, let's move on to we're getting into some of the more big dog division here. So we got divisions here. We got Division 3. We got Forest Hill Central. Another returner. Forest Hill Central actually played in the D2 state championship last year, got crushed by De La Salle. They have bounced down to D3. So they're back in the semifinals for another season here. I don't know if it's 3 in a row. I don't think they were in the semifinals 2 years ago, but at least 2 years in a row. They beat up on an undefeated Gaylord team, who I know was kind of a little bit of a Cinderella. I don't know if you call them a Cinderella, but was having a great season. I think one of their best season, if not their best season in school history. I think it was they're tied for their best season in school history. Zeeland West crushed a good Parma Western team. So you got Grand Rapids Forest Hill Central playing Zeeland West at West Ottawa, where I started coaching my season this year. That was our first game. Pretty sweet stadium. If you've never been there, brand new stadium. Mason just talked about that game and them beating Walled Lake Western overtime, is playing Detroit Martin Luther King for a third straight year in the semifinals. So Martin Luther King is the back-to-back D3 state champs. They are back in the semifinals, even after a very disappointing year, one where they barely made the playoffs. They had to beat River Rouge in another overtime game. So both those regional games were overtime games. King beat Rouge in overtime by 1 point, 20-19. So that game is being played at Chelsea. Tate. Or no, Cannon. Wait, who did I just end with? Tate or Cannon?
I think
it's on Cannon, right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
it was on Cannon. Sorry, I forgot who I left off.
This FHC Zeeland West game is the single closest spread of all 16. It's a 2-8 spread. FHC's favored over Zeeland West. It's an interesting matchup stylistically because Zeeland West is going to come running that power T, and FHC has just the toughest defense in the state. I'll call it what it is. So rarely giving up, more than a touchdown a game.
That's quite a defense.
So, I'm interested to see how those styles kind of match because it is always funky to prepare for that style of offense that Zeeland West runs.
What do they run?
I see it advancing, but that's a coin flip game, according to the model. On the other side, this is Mason's year, man. They're going to come in as heavy favorites. Model likes them by 17 points.
Over King?
Yeah.
By 17? Wow, I'm surprised by that spread.
Yeah.
I'll be closer than that.
Now, mind you, and I don't want to knock King because getting to the state semifinals is no joke. But I had Rouge. Now, it was a close projection last week, so not that big of an upset, King over Rouge. But that bottom quadrant was just not very good. Rouge was the best team. They were rated in the bottom 10 of D3. And King, that was the best game Rouge had to play. So this will be King's toughest matchup of the playoffs, no doubt, in my opinion. So, and if they beat Mason, they deserve to be in the finals. That's a hell of a win. That will also be a heck of an upset. So, yeah.
So you got, did you say you have Mason winning the whole thing?
No, I have FHC over Mason.
FHC over Mason.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to go with FHC getting back to it, and I'm going to pick Mason, man. I'm not going to go against the Dogs at this point. I think it's their year. I think if they're going to win a state title, this is it. They got a lot of seniors that are they're fighting every week, so I'm going to go with Mason to get their first state title. If they win they will have earned it. They will have earned it too.
I really like that Gaylord win for FHC, so I'm going to take FHC over Zeeland West and Mason over King, and Mason with a state championship for the Greater Lansing area.
Tate.
I'm also going to take Forest Hill Central and Mason to get to the state championship. I think this is going to be, from my perspective, the most anticipated state championship matchup of Forest Hill Central and Mason. I think it's going to be a great ball game. I'd be interested to know what Goose's spread on that potential matchup would be. But in the end, I think this is Mason's year. It's going to be a great game, but I think a coin toss game there. I'll take Mason over Forest Hill Central.
Give
Yeah,
me
to
offense
answer,
versus defense.
to answer your question, it would be a 10-point spread.
Really?
With FC favored by 10. So
A little bit bigger than anticipated, but
yeah,
nonetheless.
That doesn't surprise me. I think Mason, their one problem, and this is, I think, what's gotten them in the last 2 years in the semifinals, is if you take a look at their regular season, especially last year, play some really bad teams. I think what helped them this year is beating Walled Lake Western, who's really good, Fenton, pretty good non-conference game. They beat up on Holt, who's Division I, DeWitt, who's really good D3. So they scheduled some really good non-conference games this year, but they still beat teams like Fowlerville, Eastern, St. John's. I would imagine that in your model, that probably dings them quite a bit because those three teams are bad. Well, and Holt, even though Holt's D1, Holt had one of their worst years in a long time this year too. So
yeah, my suspicion is Mason's properly rated, right? So like, I caught some flack for putting out a 6-point spread on the Walled Lake Western game last week, even though they had won by 23 previously. But that kind of played out. So
yeah, it took them to overtime.
Walled
Lake Western was up by 11 in the second half.
Right. And it's so hard to tell whether these, I'll go on my model rant again, but like to use one game to tell whether a team was actually properly rated, right? It's like, it's you don't get the 7-game series like you do in basketball or baseball. So it's just tough. Anything can happen out there.
All right. And with that, I think we are on to our last two divisions. Division 2 here. Tate is going to kick us off. So in Division 2, we have Muskegon, who is returning back to the semifinals after a pretty ugly loss in D3 last year to King. They've gone up a division to D2 this year, so they are back in the semifinals for second straight year, albeit a division higher. They crushed a really good Saginaw Heritage team. I did not think they were going to beat them that bad. Heritage has had a pretty great season. I think their best in school history, or one of their best in school history. Has a very talented record-breaking wide receiver. Muskegon handled them 42-14. Muskegon is matched up with a team, my kind of dark horse pick for the D2 playoffs that I had when we did our preview, East Lansing. So I picked them to make it to the semis, and that pick held true. East Lansing crushed their district and their region, man. They blew out Byron Center the other night in East Lansing. They will be playing Muskegon at Greenville on Saturday. On the other side, surprise, surprise, guess who's back again? De La Salle back in the semifinals. I think this is their 4th straight semifinal appearance, and if they win, it'll be their 4th straight state title appearance. They were runner-up in 2020 and back-to-back state champs over the last 2 years. They are playing Waterford Mott at Troy Athens. Tate, who you got, my brother?
This Muskegon East Lansing game is really intriguing to me. Might go check it out, actually. It's not too far away.
That can't be too far for me. Yeah, it might be a good one to watch.
Greenville's a pretty cool atmosphere to watch a game, too. They got a really unique stadium. But anyways, I'm going to take Muskegon in that one. I think that, I said this earlier in the year, but they started out pretty rough, 0-2 start with a really tough schedule. But they've rattled off 10 straight, especially, that really impressive win over Heritage. And then on the other side, I can't go with anyone but De La Salle. State championship, got really no reason to pick against the Pilots, but I'm going to ride the big red wave here and say that they bring it home this year.
I don't think they've won the state title in it's been 10 years. Muskegon has had a lot of runner-ups in the last 10 years. When was the last time they won it? I feel like it's been almost 10 years since they won the state title.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Let me.
In that stretch, they've had multiple runner-ups. Kory, while he's looking that up, what do you got?
Oh man! I'm gonna have to take Warren De La Salle just because I have taken them at the beginning of the playoffs. So I'll go Warren De La Salle, and I'm going to take them as my championship winner. And I just think what this Muskegon team has done since about week 8 is pretty impressive. So I am going to pick Muskegon to be my runner-up.
I'm going to go opposite, same as Tate here. I'm picking I would love to go with East Lansing. East Lansing, this was, if they managed to win, it'd be East Lansing's first state title appearance in 23 years. Their last state championship appearance was in 2000. East Lansing was state runner-up in 2000, got crushed by, I think, Farmington Hills Harrison, I believe. That year was Division III. I don't think that drought's going to end this year, though. I don't think they make the state title. I'm going to pick Muskegon, and I'm going to pick Muskegon to beat De La Salle in the state title. I think De La Salle's streak is going to end at 2 straight state titles. De La Salle's very, very good. I could see them weighing it, but I think Muskegon is a little bit extra hungry after what happened to them in the state title game last year, and I see them pulling this one out.
They played earlier in the season.
2017 was the year that they last won the state title against Harrison.
So it has been 6 years. Say it again, Corey.
They played earlier this year, week 2.
They did, and De La Salle won
at Muskegon
by 5, wasn't it? It was like a 31-26 or something.
12, 28-40.
Oh, 40-28. Okay.
Yep.
Hard to be a team twice. I always stick to that rule. It's hard. It is. It's hard to be. That's why North Muskegon impressed me the other day, and so did Mason, beating teams twice. Cannon, what you got here? D2, brother.
So I have Muskegon winning. D2 is the opposite of D4. D4 is the dartboard division. D2 is the biggest lock division. These are the 2 worst semifinal games. Both 3 touchdown spreads.
Wow.
So we'll see if that plays out, but fun fact for you. So I have Muskegon and De La Salle both advancing, and then I have Muskegon avenging their early season loss. Their computer ratings just shooting up to the right. They'll actually they lost by 12. They'll be, I think it's a 10-point favorite over De La Salle.
They've been dominating.
What were they in week 1? Or did you not have a?
They were a 10-point. Well, I don't know what they were as
or week
2.
Sorry,
I don't have that data in front of me. So, but they've just, despite losing by 12 to that team, they're favored to win by 10 when they play them again. Isn't that crazy?
That is wild.
Yeah.
All right. Cannon's going to kick us off with the big dogs here. Division I. So we talked a little bit about that Rockford-Davison game, obviously, and on the other side of that region, or of that part of the bracket, you had Belleville just crushing Northville, I think for the second time, right? Yeah, because Belleville and Northville played for the KLA title, 42-0, and then even worse, spread the second time around, 49-7. Belleville cruising all the way to the semifinals for a 7th straight. Is this their 7th straight semifinal appearance? Someone can look that one up. I think it's their 6th or 7th straight semifinal appearance. Rockford gets downed by Davison. That Davison-Belleville game's at Novi on Saturday. On the other side, congrats to Zach Hilbers. Coach Hilbers, we had on the podcast this last week. We were worried that we jinxed both coaches, as Coach Cisco, unfortunately, they lost, and we thought West Bloomfield was going down. They were down 20-0 against Clarkston at home. They rattled off 21 unanswered points and had to block a last-second short chip shot field goal. I mean, it was like a 30-yard field goal, and they had blocked it to win the game 21-20. So West Bloomfield rematch with Southfield A&T. West Bloomfield, I don't know if you guys realize this fun fact here. This is West Bloomfield's 3rd rematch out of 4 playoff games. So West Bloomfield, yeah, crazy. West Bloomfield beat Adams twice, regular season and first round of the playoffs. They got beat by Clarkston in the regular season, turn around, beat them in the playoffs. They played Southfield A&T week 8, beat them by 11, and now have to play them again. That game is at Troy on Saturday. Cannon, who you got here?
Yeah, so I have Belleville over Davison. My model has that as a closer game than you might think. It's only a touchdown game. Now, Belleville's really difficult to rate because when 12 of they played 13 games, 11 of their 13 games have been running clocks so far. It's very difficult, where they
That's true, yeah.
Were they supposed to beat them by 70?
Yeah,
right?
Look at all these scores are unreal.
Points given up.
one that does stand out is that River Rouge score, right? So now that's week 1, but it happened. So, and they also only beat John Glenn 35-8. John Glenn's a good team, but that they have 2 non-running clock scores, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So we'll see, man. Can Davison keep it close? Is my spread right, or is it really just Belleville's that much different than everybody else? So I have Belleville as my champ. I have Belleville winning in that semi. This West Bloomfield Southfield game is pretty interesting. West Bloomfield, a lot of people had Southfield very highly rated throughout most of the year. They hadn't played anybody besides Cass Tech, and so they met that West Bloomfield team and lost by 10 points in week 8, and that kind of adjusted people's expectations. Does that happen again? Right, as Vince has been saying, it's tough to beat a good team twice. Southfield is a good team. We're gonna have a 8-point spread on that, I think. So a 7-point spread. So it'll be close. It'll be close. Wouldn't be surprised if Southfield wins, but I got West Bloomfield again.
Belleville's my champ. I'm gonna have him running it back. 3rd straight state title. Will Bryce Underwood go down? I don't know. Do you guys know this? I mean, someone should look this up. Have we ever had a quarterback win 4 straight state titles? I know he didn't win 4 straight. He won 2 straight.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. When West Catholic had that crazy run, when Ithaca had that crazy run, when East Grand Rapids had that crazy run, I don't know if they ever had a 4-year starting quarterback. All 3 of those schools won 5 straight, I believe, 4 or 5 straight state titles. I think Ithaca won 4 in a row. West Catholic and East Grand Rapids won 5 in a row. I don't know. I'd be curious to know.
I don't think East did. You'd have to check on Ithaca. That would be my one hunch.
I'd be curious. I don't think so, because Alex Niznak was the starter for the first one, and he was a senior.
I see.
In 2010. So I don't think Ithaca would have had a 4-year starter. Didn't have a 4-year starter.
West Catholic, the Gaetano Villano or whatever his name was. Sorry, I butchered it, but
I don't know. Yeah, I'd be curious to know if West Catholic
name. It was like Gaetano or something.
What about J. Rue Campbell? How many he win?
He didn't win 4. He won 2, I think.
He knocked out 4 security guards.
that video is wild. But yeah,
quick family plug. My cousin made it to 3. With 0 D1 commits on his team. So in a high division, D2. So
that is impressive.
But went 1 and 2 in him. So what are you gonna do?
That's
Ran up
impressive.
against a series of D1 athletes.
Forest Hills or Farmington Hills Harrison, and who was the other one? Brother Rice. That's right.
Yeah.
No, I'd be curious to know, man. Because I'm pretty sure Ithaca did not have a 4-year start. If you're saying East Grand Rapids didn't have a 4-year starting quarterback, then the only other option would be West Catholic. So I'd be curious to know if he's the first ever to win 4 in a row. But he's got to win this year first. I'm picking Belleville to win the whole thing. And I'm going to have friend of the podcast here, Coach Hilbers. I got them going to the state title, taking down Southfield A&T for a second time. Corey.
I'm going to go Belleville, West Bloomfield. I do have a weird feeling about this Davison-Belleville game. Davison has traveled. They've been all over the state of Michigan, beating people this year. So we could see something crazy, but I still think you can't go against Bryce Underwood and just the pure talent that he brings to the field.
I think the most impressive thing Belleville has done this year is what they did to Saline. I mean, Saline has a quarterback who is going to Notre Dame, and they held them to 14 points, beat them 65-14.
Mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that's their most. I think Belleville's 100% impressive. I don't think that's their most impressive win, man. I just
doing that to Saline. You don't think so?
I mean, there's just some things it's hard to explain about Saline, man. They barely beat Monroe.
Yeah, they're not very good, and he'll never play at Notre Dame. Calling it out.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I just don't think that was the most impressive win. I think it was more impressive maybe what they've done to Northville in 2 tries, right? We're talking about a Northville team that beat Clarkston. And Clarkston almost made a semi themselves, right? Like, and they just destroyed Northville twice. But
that's true. Tate,
I'm also going to take Belleville. On the other side, that Southfield and West Bloomfield game, it's interesting. Everything's telling me to pick West Bloomfield. They've got kind of the track record. But I'm going to go with Southfield. I think they have a lot of impressive wins this year. That should be pretty entertaining state championship that comes to be. And then, yeah, I'll take Belleville to win it all.
All right. That makes our only two of our 8 divisions were unanimous state title picks, gentlemen. D1 and D4. D1, we all picked Belleville. D4, we all picked Harper Woods. Otherwise, the rest were not unanimous. D2, Cannon and Tate and I picked Muskegon. Corey's got De La Salle. D3, Tate, Kory, and I have Mason. Cannon has Forest Hill Central. D5, Cannon, Tate, and I have CC. Kory has Corunna. D6, Cannon and Tate have Kingsley. Kory and I have Almont. D7, Cannon, Kory, and I have Lumen Christie, while Tate took North Muskegon. And then D8, Tate, Kory, and I have Ubley, and Cannon is taking Ottawa Lake Whiteford. And we'll get Brett's picks off air.
There's no 3-way splits. We
had no 3-way splits.
Only every single division has just 2 teams selected. So.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Unless Brett throws some wrench in there and adds another alternate team that none of us picked. But yeah. Interesting. Playoffs have been fun so far. Looking forward to seeing how they end here in the last 2 weeks. I can't believe we only got 2 weeks left of high school football. College football is coming to an end here too. We got D2 and D3 playoff picks were just announced yesterday. So that one's coming down to its last 5 weeks as well. Last month of college football, at least for the lower levels, I guess. Major college football, we still got about 2 months, or at least 6 weeks. So, all right, gentlemen, anything else here before we wrap things up with Cannon? Otherwise, we'll let him go and we'll wrap things up.
Mr. Poop, we appreciate your time as always.
Hey, this is fun, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, if you've been listening along, stay on and we will wrap things up right now. Thank you for listening along there as we preview the state championship games, giving you our state title picks as well as our runner-up for each of the 8 divisions. We'll get Brett's off air, and I don't know, maybe we'll get it posted this week to social media, but we'll see. Anyway, so we'll wrap things up here. Just really quick, want to mention a couple other things. So first off, D2 football here in the state of Michigan is wrapping up. We did have some teams make the playoffs. Unfortunately, Davenport did not get a back-to-back playoff bye. They made the playoffs last year at 8-2 or 9-2. I can't remember if they played 10 or 11 games last year, but they did not make the playoffs this year. Once again, their only 2 losses for a second straight year were Ferris and Grand Valley. But the region, I think the region overall was just a little bit tougher because in Division 2, those regional rankings by that committee, it's kind of luck of the draw with how the rest of the region's doing. And those 2 losses, even though they are to 2 of the best teams in the region, just didn't quite do enough for them. So Davenport just missed out. Ferris and Grand Valley obviously made the playoffs. Grand Valley was the number 2 seed in the region, and they are actually hosting Ferris first round. So if you did not see the release of the regional rankings for the playoffs, they matched Ferris and Grand Valley up first round this year. Last year they met for the regional championship, which was round 3, I believe, last year. So this year they're meeting round 1. I think they met round 1 a couple years ago. They've met round 1 in the playoffs before. It's not the first time it's happened, but just the way it worked out. I'm going to stand by it. I think we talked about we previewed the game when they played a few weeks ago, and Grand Valley beat Ferris handily for the GLIAC championship for a second straight year. Last year was a close win for Grand Valley, but I think Grand Valley beats them. I think it's Grand Valley's year. I think Ferris is very, very good, but I think Grand Valley's that good. I wouldn't be surprised if Ferris found a way to get up for this game and get revenge, but I'm thinking Grand Valley wins this, man. I think they make a run in the national title this year.
Be interested to see when the last time they beat Ferris in the playoffs. I think it's been a pretty long streak. Could be wrong, but I hope they pull it off.
No, I think you're right.
It'll be 15, 16, 14.
I'll tell you in just
13 or 14
here. So they met in the playoffs last year. Ferris won. They met in the playoffs in 2020. Second round, Ferris won. They met in the playoffs. Looked, Ferris State last got beat by Grand Valley in the playoffs in 2015. Ironically, that was the second year of their current playoff streak. So they made the playoffs and lost second round in 2014. I think Anice's first year at Ferris was 2010 or 11. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was 2011. It was either 2010 or 2011. So it took them a few
11.
years. Was it 2011? Took them a few years to make the playoffs. They made the playoffs for the first time in 2014 under Anice, and they haven't missed the playoffs since. 2014, they got beat. They went undefeated and got beat by Ohio Dominican second round. And then 2015, they went undefeated again and got beat by Grand Valley second round. So they haven't lost to Grand Valley in the playoffs in 8 years. We'll see if that happens this year.
Go Lakers. Hopefully they can get it done.
It's going to be a battle. Coach Anice will have them boys ready to go.
I think it'll be a much better game this time around. Grand Valley handed them a pretty hefty loss the first time. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think it'll be a one-score game like it was in the playoffs last year. Last year was 24-21 Ferris. So that was Ferris's closest game other than the Pittsburgh State game last year. It was a 3-point game. Otherwise, they blew everyone else out. That's why a lot of people argued that region last year was the national championship, because Pittsburgh State was really, really good. Ferris was really good. Grand Valley was really good. Everyone else just got blown out by those three schools. So, all right. So that's D2 for you. In the GMAC, Tiffin went undefeated. They're the number 1 seed actually in their region, 11-0.
Wow.
The same. Tiffin's been pretty good. They won the conference a couple years ago and made the playoffs as well. So it's not their first time, but so that's the conference Hillsdale and Northwood are in. So D3 playoffs, Alma 10-0, back-to-back MIAA championships for the first time since 67-68. I think it was the last time we saw they won back-to-back championships. And I saw a Alma grad on Twitter or Facebook who commented on the post. He was from like a era long ago, mentioned that they even outdid those two teams. So they're 20-0 over 2 years. I think those two teams were like 16-0 or 18. They played like 8 or 9 games back then. So it's the best 2-season stretch in school history, I believe. So Alma is matched up first round. Shoot, I just looked at it the other day. With what was the name of that team they were playing?
They're in Mount Union's region.
I was just going to say the problem is if they win the very next round, they're playing Mount Union. So they're playing DePaul. So they're matched up with DePaul first round. Unfortunately for Alma, DePaul is 10-0 and coming off of 2 straight playoff appearances as well. So this is a really good team they'll be facing. And if they manage to beat DePaul, they'll be playing Mount Union. So unfortunately for Alma, it might not be their year. So
I trust them. I think they got this. I think this team is rolling. They're playing good defense too. I think they got this.
I guess we shall see. We will see what happens. Just very impressive to see Alma. They're 21-1 if you include the playoffs over the last 2 seasons. After they had a stretch from 2010 to 2018 that was ugly. I mean, they had 2 1-win seasons in there, 2 2-win seasons in there, a 3-win season, another 2-win season. I mean, they had an ugly, about 8, 9 or 10 year stretch there. That was pretty rough. So to see what Coach Couch has done with Alma is pretty impressive. So unfortunately, Hope, as we mentioned previously, a chance at an at-large bid. Hope did not get an at-large bid. Another fun fact, D3 playoffs for you. Mary Hardin Baylor, the dominant D3 team out of Texas, missed the playoffs for the first time since 2004.
Wow.
They had been in the D3 playoffs for almost 20 straight seasons.
My coach is fired.
Did not qualify. Have you guys seen their stadium? Mary Hardin Baylor. You should Google it. Mary Hardin, like Wisconsin Whitewater has a sweet D3 stadium. Mary Hardin Baylor Stadium is pretty sweet for a D3 stadium too. So it's pretty cool.
To check it out sometime. Sounds like a crazy stadium name in itself. Mary Hardin Baylor.
Yeah, UMHB, University of Mary Hardin Baylor. University of Texas Mary Hardin Baylor, I think is what they call it down there. Kind of like how it's University of Wisconsin Whitewater. something, and how the California schools do that same thing. So anyway, that's about it, gentlemen. Other than I think we could just quickly mention Lions just won last night, baby. 7-2, a very scary game, but they pulled it out. Lions are rolling
against a prolific
rolling.
offense. I was happy with that win.
Chargers are not
So-
a bad team. Chargers are not a bad team.
Terrible defense, but probably a top
They're good offense.
10 to
Yeah.
15 offense in the NFL. So
Yeah, Lions defense worries me a little bit.
Yeah, it was
They're going to
sketchy.
continue to worry me, I think. But big win. The rest of the schedule looks pretty manageable outside of the Cowboys game.
Cowboys and at Saints. Those are the two I marked.
I'll
Even
be
at the Vikings,
Saints,
man.
I'll be at the Saints game. So
Ooh,
So will I.
jealous.
We'll
You
have
guys
to
are
hang
both-
out.
really? Are you
Nice.
serious? I'm
Yep.
going down there for a bachelor party, so hopefully I'll bring the noise.
Yeah, there's Mary Hardy and Baylor Stadium.
Well, that's pretty.
We'll have to
pretty
connect.
sweet. D3
we'll have to
stadium.
connect down there, Tate. I'll be down there Thursday to Sunday.
Absolutely. I think I'll just be down there Saturday, Sunday, but
Well, shoot, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Lions finish out. Definitely been a fun season. Best season, of our lifetime to be a Lions fan. I mean, other than that one season when we had, that group that won 11 games, but that group didn't start 7-2. I mean, they weren't this good. That was a good team, but they were not nearly this good.
no.
Especially
That was
with
the year we played Dallas.
yeah, that was their Stafford's best season, I think, was that year. Yeah, they got beat in the controversial Dallas game. God, that game still pisses me off. But
Yeah.
the Lions
Brand
have
new Lions, baby.
dude, they got a favorable schedule too. The three games that worry me is at the Cowboys, at the Saints, and even at the Vikings. The Vikings have won 5 straight. Vikings are playing
Dobbs
good.
is looking like the second coming of Tom Brady out there.
Seriously.
All we have to do is throw some dust in his eyes and we'll be okay. He's got no eyelashes to block him.
But I don't know. I'm hoping I still hold true to what I said when we previewed the season. I think the Lions still have a pretty good shot at winning 13 games. So,
Agreed.
I mean, they got 8 left. I think 6-2 is very likely. I mean, they play the Broncos. They play Chicago twice. They play the
Broncos
Packers.
are winning tonight.
Packers again. Are they really?
Yeah, against the Bills.
Wow.
I think they should be able to beat the Vikings at least once. I mean, there's 5 wins right there. There was another team on the schedule that wasn't very good. I thought that they.
Yeah, just got to take care of business, and they should be contending for number 1 seed, hopefully. We'll see.
I think so, too. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. With that, I think we can wrap things up here. Thank you guys for listening along. If you don't already, please follow us on Twitter at GLSFBall. You can also give us a follow on Instagram at Great Lakes State Football. Subscribe to the video episodes of the podcast on YouTube, Great Lakes State Football over there. And then you can download and add the audio versions to your Apple or Spotify library, Great Lakes State Football as well. Make sure you check out our link to the NeuroPeak Pro Intel belt in the episode description. Otherwise, I'm Vince, Corey, and Tate. No Brett. Cannon as our guest. Episode 51. Great Lakes State Football. Go the Gods. Go
Go Blue.
Chargers. Go
And go
Lions.
North.
Lakers, go blue. Go Lions.